Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Darwisyaah. So today my group would like to present a company named Berjaya Corporation Berhad. So firstly, we're going to look at the history of Berjaya Corporation Berhad, which is located in Malaysia and incorporated in 1984. It was founded by Tan Sri Datuk Sri Vincent Tan Sri acquired a major controlling stake in Berjaya Industrial Berhad, which is previously known as Berjaya Corp Berhad, but now has changed to Reka Pacific Berhad. The group is a diverse entity involved in core businesses such as consumer marketing, financial services, hotels, and property investment and development. This group also specializes in gaming and lottery, food and beverages, environmental services, and clean technology and motor trading and distribution. They also have several company subsidiaries which include Berjaya Food Resources Sdn Berhad, Berjaya Land Sdn Berhad, and etc.
Now, we move to management approach. To explain about this topic, we divide it into three parts, which is factor to consider having a segment reporting, type of segment, and identify the chief operating decision maker, or we call it CODM, of Berjaya Corporation Berhad and its responsibility. There are four factors to consider having a segment reporting. Number 1, nature of product and services. Basically, it is when the segment have same nature of product or services. Number 2, type or class of customer is similar. For example, the target market of each segment is the one that need the products and services offered by this company. Next, nature of production process, where the segment have same similar production process. And the last one is when the method used by the company to distribute the products and services is similar. Next, I will talk about types of segments. There are two types of segments, which is business segments and geographical segments. First, business segments. The group is organized on a worldwide basis and presents its segmental information based on business segments. The segments is listed on the screen. Other business segments shown on the screen include clubs, recreation, and plantation segments, which are not a sufficient size to be reported separately. Second, geographical segments. The geographical segmental information is prepared based on the location of assets, whether it is inside Malaysia or outside Malaysia.
Chief of Decision Making and its responsibility. First, we have Syed Ali Shahul Hamid, Chief Executive Officer of Berjaya Lands Berhad. He is currently responsible for overseeing in the engineering aspects of all the Berjaya Land Group's properties in Malaysia and overseas. He is leading the operations in Okinawa Four Seasons Resort and Four Seasons Yokohama. For examples, he oversees the maintenance aspects of the properties and was entrusted to spearhead various in-house renovation projects in Berjaya Lands Group properties. He is also managing all the local and overseas property development projects as well as managing the complexes. Second, we have Kor Poh Wah, the President or Director of Berjaya Clubs, Berjaya Vacation Clubs Berhad. He managed the company's timeshare, golf, and recreation club division and has vast experience in the hotel, golf, and club industry. And next, we have Lau Biksun, the Group Chief Executive Officer of Redstone Digital Berhad. He is responsible in expanding the digital services and infrastructure. He guided Redstone to achieve a firm footing by transforming the business from a discounted call provider to an integrated telecommunication service provider. He continues to play a significant role in driving Redstone's success as it expands its offerings, which encompass voice, data, telco engineering, and industry digital solution. And lastly, we have Sydney Lawrence Lewis, the Chief Executive Officer of Berjaya Food Berhad. He was a pioneer with Berjaya Starbucks Coffee Company Sdn Berhad, holding the position of Marketing and Merchandise Manager. He is currently oversees Starbucks, Berjaya Roaster, Jollibee Foods, and Berjaya Food Supreme. It is also responsible for formulating and implementing detailed business and marketing plans, offering new inventive ideas to boost sales and enhance brand status. He is also accountable for the finances, profitability, and future prospects of the business.
My name is Hanisah binti Halid, and I am going to explain about the process to identify the reportable segment and non-reportable segment. How are we going to identify reportable and non-reportable segment? So, we can identify these two by doing quantitative threshold tests. We need to calculate it according to each formula until we get more or equal to 10%, and you will get the reportable segment. And all reportable segment need to be tested for 75% of total revenue. What happens if the operating segment do not meet the 10% of threshold test? Therefore, the segment are not classified as reportable segment, and it needs to be combined with other similar segment and disclosed under other segment category. Under this test, there are three categories can be used for us to test 10% threshold test. They are revenue basis, operating profit and loss, and asset basis. Revenue basis, the reported revenue from sales to external customer and internal sales must be 10% or more of the combined revenue of all operating segment. Next, operating profit and loss, the absolute amount of the segment reported profit or loss must be 10% or more of the greater of the absolute amount. The next one is asset basis. It is also same with the other basis. The segment asset must have 10% or more of the total asset of all operating segment. Next, I am going to explain how 75% rule is met. After determining the reportable segment, the entity should ensure that the total external revenue attributable to those reportable segment is at least 75% of the entity total revenue. When the 75% threshold is not met, additional reportable segment should be identified, even if they do not meet the 10% threshold test. This is to make sure the entity reach at least 75% of its reportable segment. I'm going to explain to you how to determine the reportable segment of Berjaya Corporation Berhad. As I mentioned earlier, to determine the reportable and non-reportable, we must test it using 10% of the threshold test. So, we are using asset basis to test 10% threshold test. First, I took out amount of asset of each business segment, and then I divide it with the total asset of all business segment to get the percentage, whether it is more or less than 10%. For instance, we can take a look on marketing of consumer products and services. The amount of the asset for this segment is 357,351, and then I divide it with the total amount of the asset of all business segment, which is 20112,504. Then we get a result of 14.61%. This is indicate it is a reportable segment, and same goes with the property investment and development, hotel and resort, and gaming and related activities. Meanwhile, financial services, restaurant and cafes, and other is to be classified as non-reportable segment, since this segment does not reach 10% threshold test. For 75% test, it will use the formula of external revenue reportable segment and divided by total revenue by all segment. The combination of the reportable segment result is 86.04%, which is more than 75% of company total revenue. There are no additional reportable segment should be identified.
In order to make trustworthy decision for investor and also creditors regarding the financial result of the company's operation, a company needs to show their segment report. So now, I'm going to show you the newly constructed segment report for Berjaya Corporation Berhad as at 30th June 2021. So here is the 4 reportable segment, while the other 9 reportable segment is grouped under one category named Other Segment. As you can see here, here's the revenue under the operating segment, and it shows a result of 477,143 of loss for the financial year. Furthermore, there are also other information that included in the segmental information that involves capital expenditure, depreciation and amortization, impairment loss, and other non-cash expenses.
Moving on to the last part of MFRS8, I'm going to present on the advantages and disadvantages of segmental reporting. The first advantage is the separation of profitable segments. Berjaya Berhad has several categories of business operates, such as financial services, property investment and developments, hotels and resorts, and few others. Segmental reporting can disclose which segments are profitable or not. Thus, the company, Berjaya Berhad, could take various steps and initiatives to maintain the segment's profitability while increasing profits of other segments as well. For example, the evaluation could prompt a change in strategic directions for the managers to make future decisions. Segmental reporting also gives better understanding of the financial statements. It enables Berjaya Berhad's shareholders to gain a better understanding of variances that may affect overall numbers. For instance, the financial report shows the origin of the earning by the company and could help shareholders to determine whether the earnings are sustainable or not. Hence, segmental reporting is intended to assist the investors of the company. Next, the advantage of segmental reporting is the lower cost of capital. The risk of investing in the stock of a firm that reveals all information is theoretically lower than the risk of investing in the stock of a company that withholds information. For example, when a company faces financial risk problem, Berjaya Berhad's cash position and liquidity, as well as working capital requirements, are closely monitored and assessed, and then appropriate strategies were undertaken in order to address emerging liquidity pressures. Now, for the disadvantages of segmental reporting. The first disadvantage is the manipulation of data. Segmental reporting information can be manipulated as well as it may be reported through the view that the management wants the users to see. For example, if the data is presented in a true management eye style, segmental reporting lends itself into data manipulation. Therefore, the users of financial statements will get a false idea of the performance of the company. All losses of the company could be grouped with an unrelated profitable business unit to paint a better picture of the performance to deceive the board of directors of the company. Next, base of segmentation is also one of the disadvantages of segmental reporting. The split of diversified organizations for segment reporting purpose is a basic challenge that exists. Segments can be created in a variety of ways depending on the segmentation base. It is also difficult to identify the segmentation itself. Segmentation can be done based on organizational divisions, industries, markets, and products, among other things. Each base also has their own sets of limitations and issues. Another disadvantage of segmental reporting is they place a strong emphasis on the present. Segmental reporting can place too much of focus on short-term numbers. Company report their segment using short-term data and usually neglects the long-term figures, although they knew that neglecting can give a long-term impact to their business.
Okay, now I will explain about the basis of preparation of Interim Financial Report of Berjaya Corporation Berhad. According to MFRS134, Interim Financial Report is a financial report containing either a complete set of financial statements as per MFRS101 or a set of condensed financial statements as described in this standard, which is MFRS134 for an interim period. Entities can choose to either present complete set of financial statements as prescribed in MFRS 101 or condensed set of financial statements which contains condensed statement of financial position, condensed statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, condensed statement of changes in equity, condensed statement of cash flow, and selected explanatory notes. The picture on the screen is the table of content of the interim report of Berjaya Corporation Berhad. We can see that Berjaya Corporation Berhad chose to present the condensed set of financial statements as its interim report. For your information, the interim report of Berjaya Corporation Berhad is prepared in discrete method. This is because the interim reporting is prepared on a periodic basis that publish their interim financial report on quarterly.
What accounting policies used in preparing interim report? First, we have property, plant and equipment and depreciation. All items of PPE are initially recorded at cost. Subsequent costs are included in the assets carrying amount or recognized as a separate asset. As appropriate, only when it is probable that future economic benefit associated with the item will flow to the group, and the cost of the item can be measured reliably. All other repairs and maintenance are charged to profit or loss during the financial period in which they are incurred, except for freehold land. Freehold land are stated at cost less accumulated depreciation and any accumulated impairment losses. This is because freehold land has an unlimited useful life and therefore is not depreciated but reviewed at each reporting date to determine whether there is an indication of impairment. Capital work in progress are also not depreciated as these assets are not available for use. Berjaya Corporation Sdn Berhad used straight line basis to write off the cost of each asset to its residual value over the estimated useful life. And the second policy is inventories. Inventories measured at a lower cost and net realizable value, whichever is lower based on the MFRS134 inventories. Cost is determined on the first in first out basis, the weighted average cost method, and by specific identification. Net realizable value represents the estimated selling price in the ordinary cost of business less all estimated costs to completion and the estimated cost necessary to make the sale. For example, property inventories, property acquired or being constructed for sale in the ordinary cost of business rather than to be held for rental or capital appreciation is held as inventory and is measured at the lower of cost and net realizable value.
In order to avoid repetition of information that has been reported previously, a company needs to provide the latest complete set of annual financial statement as the standard is defined as the minimum content of an interim financial report. The minimum component of an interim financial includes a condensed statement of financial position, a condensed statement of profit or loss, and other comprehensive income, condensed statement changes in equity, condensed statements of cash flow, and also selected explanatory notes. Based on Berjaya Corporation Berhad financial statement, its interim report is prepared quarterly. This is to provide investor or creditors a timely and reliable current information which can evaluate the company to generate earnings and cash flow, as well as its financial condition and liquidity. Due to the pandemic of COVID-19, Berjaya Corporate Berhad is facing difficulty due to lockdown which involve all around the world, as the company is known as the leader in tourism field. This affects the company as the continuance of the closure of international borders, so the traveller was forced to cancel all the trip and hotel bookings.
Next, we go to the period for the current and comparative of each segment prepared by the company. For the financial position, SOFP at the end of current period will be compared with SOFP at the end of immediately preceding financial year end. For example, in the Berjaya Corporation Berhad, 30 June 2021 to be compared with 30 June 2020. For the SOPL, there are two types, which are current interim period and cumulative current interim report. For the current interim period, the date will be 1st April 2021 to 30 June 2021 to be compared with 1st April 2020 to 30 June 2020. For cumulative current period, the date will be 1st January 2021 to 30 June 2021, and to be compared with the 1st January 2020 to 30 June 2020. For SOCI and statement of cash flow, we are using the same concept, which are cumulative current interim report. So there will be on 1st January 2021 to 30 June 2021, and to be compared with 1st January 2020 to 30 June 2020.
Next, I'm going to present on the last part of MFRS134, interim financial reporting, of the adjustments made by the company to be included in the interim report. The first adjustment made by Berhad is on the inventories. As at 30th June 2021, the cost of inventories of Berhad is stated at the amount of 1,282,289,000 ringgit. There was a transfer made from inventories to properties, plant and equipment amounting to 3,253,000 ringgit. Hence, the cost of inventories will be subtracted with the transfer amount, and the new amount after the adjustments will be at 1,279,036,000 ringgit. The next adjustments made by the company is on the properties, plant and equipment connected to adjustment 1. As at 30th June 2021, the amount of properties, plant and equipment of Berhad is stated at 3,139,768,000 ringgit. After adding the transfer amount from inventories of 3,253,000 ringgit, the value of property, plant and equipment after adjustment is at 3,143,021,000 ringgit. Here is the extract of the statement of financial position as at 30th June 2021 of Berhad. From the table, it can be seen that under non-current asset category, the value of property, plant and equipment before the adjustment is amounted at 3,139,768,000 ringgit. After adjustment, the value has increased to 3,143,021,000 ringgit. Meanwhile, under the current asset category, the value of inventories before the adjustment is amounted at 1,282,289,000 ringgit. After adjustment made by Berhad, the value has decreased to 1,279,036,000 ringgit.